Good morning, and welcome to the Presence of Light show with Charlie Riverman Bergeron. It's a pleasure to be here on the second Friday of the year with you. And today is somewhat of a repeat of a show I did last year on integrity, but with a new perspective, I'm sure. I don't go over last year's notes to try to figure out what I said, because everything is happening in the now. So with that said, I just invite us all to just take a deep breath, relax, and allow spirit and the words that come through and the messages to touch you in your hearts as we each embrace this new year, which for many of us will be quite an adventure. And so with that, good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Leonie. With that said, I invite you to look at this Herkimer diamond that I've been holding and playing with while I wait for everything to unfold here. And as I said, the show is about replanting integrity. And this is a new crystal for me, which a friend was selling on Facebook or eBay. That's how I found it, and it called me immediately. And I have a couple of small Herkimer diamonds, but the size of this just caught my attention. And when I received it, it was even more than what the pictures had shown, and it's still unfolding itself. So when I think of the word integrity, the Herkimer diamond came up for me, and as a symbol of integrity, of something that is hardened and formed to be and do exactly what it's designed to do, to be in its fullest integrity. And even though it's got some carbon in it, it's actually giving birth to another Herkimer right on the top of it. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't, but there's one forming right here on the top. And so, much like us, we're diamonds in the rough. This last night, the words, Spirit gave me the words, replanting integrity. And I said, oh boy, that's going to be a fun one to play with. And then this morning at 3:57 a.m., I arose to be wide awake and say, okay, Charlie, you're on, which is always a fun place to be. So when that happens to me, I always resort to, I look at the clock and I see what time it is. And it's been a practice over the years to recognize what time I'm awakened. And I check it out on the Sacred Scribe's angel numbers. And she has been highly accurate for me over the years. And I'm not trying to plug her, but I think it's Joanne's Sacred Scribes. But I mention it because it's a great resource source for many of us who question if angels or guides are talking to us. And for some reason, her accuracy and her integrity has been outstanding. And so at 3:57 this morning, the numbers played right into today. The number 3 represents manifesting, expansion, sensitivity, self-expression, communication, creativity, joy, and optimism. And so as we enter 2018, I'm looking, this is an entry point. And so the number 3 is an entry point into the dynamics of that number. And then the 5 encourages us to be, and I'm going to read her words, to be true to ourselves and live our lives accordingly, and resonates with personal freedom, life changes, and making positive life choices and decisions. Variety, adaptability, and versatility. Resourcefulness, motivation, activity, and progress. So, second week of January, and I feel like I'm making progress. It's been a busy 12 days. I'm not frantic over it, but there's just a lot of things happening, and they're happening in rapid succession. So if many of you are feeling that energy, try to relax into that and realize that it's not to be overly concerned about, but to watch what comes up that no longer resonates with you. Because this is part of replanting our integrity. That first of all, we have to dig up the soil, and the soil that we've been living in, the soil that we've been embodying for many years. There's a lot of contamination. There's a lot of things in which the new seeds of integrity won't find nourishing or able to grow in. So we're basically in the process of tilling the soils. And you're going to hear me sort of play with Mother Earth and the processes of Earth and integrity. As my guide so lovingly planted those 2 words in my little human brain. So number 7 resonates with inner knowing and understanding others. Interesting, isn't it? Isn't that where we're at, is trying to know and understand others on a deeper level? Compassion and empathy. What do we need more now in this world than compassion and empathy? Dignity and refinement. Hello, again, we're in a world where just the other day, the president of this country made racist comments and shamed everybody, including himself. Not a person of integrity at all. Spiritual awakening. Let's hope there's some spiritual awakening in some of these leaders around the world. And if not, this is where we come in. This is our responsibility, that irregardless of what these leaders of the world are doing, it is we who have to replant our integrity. And by doing so, we create a field of energy, such as the Herkimer Diamond creates, that is unstoppable. It cannot be taken away, it cannot be controlled, it cannot be destroyed. Energy can't be destroyed. We become that energy when we tap into the deeper parts of ourselves that we may not have always been in our lifetimes. So we have to sometimes forgive ourselves and move on and make a deeper commitment. So the other words for number 7 are endurance and persistence of purpose. Again, we come back to what is our purpose? Yesterday I pulled a couple of cards on 111, and one of them was about our purpose and reclaiming our purpose and redefining our purpose if need be, and sticking to it and saying, no, I'm going to commit myself to this. Again, these are all parts of replanting integrity. The rest of that is purpose, study, learning, and education. So as my first 2 weeks of the year of unfolded, I'm doing a lot of learning. I actually learned how to do a banner for a Facebook program last night, which may sound like insignificant to most people, but for my sometimes memory, which is not all that great since my return, to learn something new like that is always a challenge. And in the end, I succeeded, and the banner was posted. And so part of our integrity leads us to accomplishment. So the angel number 357, and I'll read her words again, tells you that an important key to personal growth is to be willing to know your true values, principles, beliefs, and life lessons. Closely examine your inner thoughts and feelings and accept your own power and purpose. Again, your own power and purpose, not the power and purpose of the world, not the power and purpose of those who want you to do something for them because they gain by your energy, but your power and purpose to come together with others in small groups, large groups if you so desire. I'm highly empathic, so I have a hard time in large groups, but small groups of trustworthy people, and commit to whatever cause you're committing to, and do it with love and do it with purpose, and know that if it's part of your divine purpose to do this, everything you need will be brought forward to you. And the only requirement is that you retain some sense of integrity. And it's a big key, the word integrity. So accept yourself for who you are, and make life changes according to your true essence. So you'll hear me repeatedly talk about who we truly are, what we truly believe we are, and then once we get sort of an identity, to go for it, and to not question, can I do it? Is it right? Is it wrong? What will people think? Etc. We all do that. That's our human nature. So just stand in that field of resonance within your own heart field and say, this is what I feel I'm being called to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I know in my heart that I'm being assisted by things and people I haven't even met yet. I may not even understand once I meet them, but it's okay to trust me, to trust myself. So trusting ourselves is a big part of replanting integrity. So again, you're being guided to the next step of your life in your soul mission. So the angels are always helping you, as they help me. I call them angels. Some of them are spirit guides. Some are what I call the crystalline collective. I work with crystal skulls, and I work with stone skulls, and I work with many minerals, and so they're all part of this, my larger family that I can't see, touch, feel, or smell in totality, but I know they exist, and I know they channel energy and thought and communication, and I will communicate to all of us. So as we move into 2018, oh, wonderful, Maya crystal skull, that's wonderful, Gemma, thank you. So there are many crystal skulls. When I first was introduced to crystal skulls, I had no clue about crystals, very little clue, very little awareness. And the first one I ever touched was Max. You may have heard of Max. And Max took me into his world, and immediately I recognized it. And I've been communicating with crystalline beings, what I call crystalline collective, for over 10 years. I don't remember when I first saw Max. But that's a journey. And this is all part of challenging ourselves to move beyond what we have been told and what we have been taught and experience things on a deeper level. And as we do that, we start to build our integrity, rebuild our integrity all over again. So the word replanting in the two words kind of threw me off. When I heard that, I said, well, what are we doing replanting? And this morning, as I reflected on it, I realized it's much like planting trees. And I'm a member of the Tree Sisters group as a tree brother who are planting millions of trees around the world right now as we speak, as well as many other great ecological groups. And that's part of my integrity, to support those who are doing something to rebalance the ecology of this world. Because future generations, which I'm not going to be around for, are going to reap the benefits of that. So here again, part of my integrity, replanting. So the analogy came up was you have to clear the soil, okay, to plant something. It's like a garden or flowers. You have to dig the soil, and then you have to take the seeds, or even if you've got a small sprout, you have to plant it. And what's the next step? The next step is so beautiful, because without it, nothing exists. You have to water it. So the analogy for me was we have to water ourselves. We have to embrace the water we are, and which carries our integrity. And we're the holder of that. And it's just how it will flow. Our integrity will flow with the waters, and it will flow through us as we embrace ourselves and realize that you can't buy integrity. You can't sell integrity, because it's not a tangible product. It's not a Herkimer diamond. Yes, you can buy this and you can do this with it, and you can do that with it. But integrity grows within us. It's within the crystalline structure of our own body. And so when we plant the seeds or replant the seeds of integrity, we're planting them in the gardens of our hearts. And I love that, how it came out so poetic. The gardens of our hearts. And we're going to water them with the tears of our love. And as this comes through me, I embrace that and ask you all to just think about that. This is where your integrity really rests. It's deep within your heart. And we all have the opportunity to plant seeds and renew our relationship to ourselves and our integrity. We're humans. We have failed 1,000 times, and we'll fail 1,000 more. But that doesn't mean we're failures. What it means is we've just become separated, momentarily separated from who we truly are. And we've started to rely on somebody else or something else to dictate to us or to teach us something that is innate in us, our own self-reliance. And it's this self-reliance that in the beginning of humanity, people were self-reliant, but they all worked together in a collective group. There was no separation in the group, because separation meant death and meant disaster. It meant if everyone went off and did their own thing, it would be a short while that nobody would exist. And they knew this. They knew this because it was the way of life. We have traveled thousands of years now, and we've separated both from each other and from ourselves. And we've risen into the mind, which does amazing things and has amazing talents and abilities, but it's not who we are. And so even myself, when I get into my head, I have to look and say, okay, Charlie, let's come back down out of the head, back into the heart, and say, who are you? This is who I am. I'm this person of the heart. This is where we live, and this is where we live with each other. And so I look at integrity as our last stand. It's the last stand of humanity. Let's resurrect integrity. Let's transform it. Let's, I think somebody commented earlier, my butterfly on my Facebook page, it's transmutation. Let's transmute all of this separation and just say, no more. I can't stand for that. I have to be an integral part of myself, and I have to be an integral part of that which is around me. And that creates a weaving of integrity that is scientifically sometimes not understandable. So we often think of integrity as this holy place. And I'm trying to say to you, it's an earthly place. It's like the trees. When you look in the woods at the trees, what do you see? There's small trees, large trees, but they all communicate through their root system, their feet on the ground. They're stationary beings. They don't move around like we do. So they're limited to their area. But they all communicate and they all connect. And they know that they work out a system and they agree to working out a system that enriches the lives of everybody in that community. And so if you hear my dog barking, I apologize, but that's who she is. The forest supports itself. The trees collectively and intelligently know when to drop their leaves, know when to release water, know when to dig deeper. And they protect each other. And so the taller trees protect the smaller ones grow up. And sure, there are invasive species in all aspects of life, but there's an agreement between them all. And I have many invasive species in my backyard. And yet, as I trim them back, I look and I realize that on some level, there's a communication where they all are maintaining their own individual integrity, but they're also a collective integrity. And I may not understand what that is, but they do. And so like we may not understand what collective integrity is, but we can't begin to experience it until we stand in our own integrity. So, I urge people to look up the word integrity. And even if you don't agree with what you read, sometimes what I do is I look up what is the opposite of integrity. And that gives me a better picture. And I do that with all kinds of words and thought forms and philosophies and psychologies that come up as we become more awakened and enlivened in our lives. Is I may not understand what somebody's teaching me, but I may understand the opposite of what they're teaching me. And that gives me a good mirror effect. So too, like us, we are mirrors of each other. And so those who lack integrity are a mirror for us to say, wow, I'm going to judge that person. And we do judge each other. It's human nature. But you're going to judge that person, you're going to say, blah, blah, blah. When I say that, I have to say, I recognize that somewhere in myself as well. And that's why it bothers me so deeply. And so these are the things that we can look at and say, that's what I need to eliminate. Thank you. So As I said earlier, the president who makes these racist remarks. When I hear that and I see that, I have to look and say, how many racist remarks have I made in my lifetime? Yet I'm not racially biased, but I've said them nonetheless, and those have affected my integrity. And even if nobody else hears them, it isn't about show and tell here. It's about seeing myself as I truly am and seeing how the outside world can influence me to take away my own integrity. So anyway, this is where it's led me today, and to talk with all of you and share with you that, yeah, integrity is being replanted, and is being replanted by each of us, because each of us know that we can't continue on the path we're on. The path the path has diverged, and there's one that leads to destruction, and there's one that leads to life. And for those of us who are choosing the road to life, these are the little steps we need to learn to balance as we take baby steps and get a good foundation and get a good root base. You know, those little seeds of integrity. That's our root. Those are our roots. They're going to go down and form our roots. And that's going to be the roots that will hold us in place when the winds blow. And the deeper we dig them, the stronger the wind we can endure. They're going to be the roots. They're going to go down below the mud so that the landslides can't sweep us away. And even if the fires burn us, like the trees, the roots will recover because they're so deeply ingrained into the heart of Mother Earth. The analogies are all there. It's really a beautiful thing to relate to nature and see ourselves as nature, because we're now entering into a world where artificial intelligence, robots, electronic brains will start thinking for humans, and humans will no longer remember what it's like to be human. And that, my dear friends, is not where humanity was designed to go. And so it's not that those things won't unfold, but if they unfold and we maintain our integrity as humans and our conscious awareness of who we are as a collective environment and a collective species, and that we're working here together in harmony and balance with Mother Earth, then everything will be fine. So it's up to us. It isn't up to the leaders. We are the leaders. As I was going to write a poem, and then I came across this poem by my friend Mia Leventhal, who lives in France. And she and I met through poetry. And she's worked on a lot of social issues and is a dear soul. So I leave you with this poem. It's called Rise, R-I-S-E. And I think that's where we're leading to, is by planting and replanting integrity in our hearts. We will rise. We will rise together. So here's the poem. Rise. Whatever is going on, rise. Whatever you think is going on, rise. Whatever is clouding your thoughts, rise. Whatever others are doing, rise. Whatever has happened yesterday, rise. Whatever will happen tomorrow, rise. And keep rising higher towards your higher being, towards the light of your Creator, towards the light of all creation. That's where it's at. That's where you want to be. That's where you're headed. Rise above and beyond, and you will touch the glory of the universe, the magnificence of existence. Rise. I thank you all for being here and listening to my messages. It's a joy to present these. It's a joy for me to deepen my own relationship with Spirit and each of you, knowing that around the world, we are rising. We're rising not only in love, but we're rising in integrity. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. Till next week, enjoy. May your lives be blessed in more ways than you ever expected.